Welcome to Family Gamer TV. Now, if you're tracking with the channel, you no doubt have been intrigued to see what this new Toys to Life, Games to Life title is, Infinite Arms. It's a combination of a physical toy and an app experience. So today I've got Chris Esaki, Chief Creative Officer at Jumo, who are creating Infinite Arms, to get a real inside look at what this game's all about. So Chris, perhaps you could, in a nutshell, what's the elevator pitch for Infinite Arms?
Sure, thanks for having me, Andy. Infinite Arms is Jumo's flagship product. We're in the Toys to Life space, and we're really thinking of it in a different way, where Infinite Arms is really about bringing the characters and the universes alive in the real world. So we have this video game element, and we kind of think of it almost like a Saturday morning cartoon. We have these weekly episodes that are constantly updated. New characters and new weapons and themes are introduced every week, and they come out of that world into our world, and that's what these toys represent. And because of that, they're not just figurines; they're fully articulated and they're interactable. They have slides and sound, and you can customize them, and that's a big part of the experience and the fun of it.
And so the toys are sort of Bluetooth, and they connect to the app. And so there's this mechanic, isn't there, back and forth between the two?
Yeah, one of the key things around what we're trying to do with Infinite Arms is really redefining play in the physical space and how that really interacts with the game. And so we have this technology that allows them to connect instantaneously and seamlessly to devices. So through Bluetooth, they're constantly in communication with the game. And so it's aware of all these things about, oh, I put this weapon on or this thing on the back, as well as it lights up and it'll talk to you, and it gives you feedback as to what's happening in the game world, even when you're not even playing the game.
Yeah, so I should just stop you there, because that's already a step beyond what we've got currently in Toys to Life. So you've got lights and you've got sounds in an independent toy. When it's away from any sort of portal, it's just on its own.
Yeah, so we have, through the connection, the wireless connection, we can stream stuff to it. We can do things like have it talk to you or tell you when a battle is ready to go or your friend wants to play with you, stuff like that. So even when you're not in the app and you just have your mobile device or your tablet, it can send data to the toy, and it will make you aware of what's going on. And we really think that really helps with the social portion of the game. We really want friends to play together, both in the same room but also over the internet. And so that really kind of builds the awareness of having this toy kind of talk to you and light up and tell you, hey, your friends want to play. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. My kids will love it. I mean, I'll love it, actually. And so the toys, they have points where you can connect additional sort of weapons, I guess. You're saying that there's 4 points, and how does that work?
Yeah. So the figures themselves, we went through all of these different sizes of figures to really get the size correct. And the big thing for us is this whole customization and the interchange of all these accessories. And so we ended up with figures that are about 8 or 10 inches tall, and they're pretty sizable. They're weighty, really durable, and they have these 4 connection spots, 2 on their arms and 2 on their back. So you can attach up to 4 accessories on these characters. They're usually kind of offensive weapon types, swords and guns and that sort of thing, but also defensive weapons like shields or cloaking devices or smoke screens, if you will, things like that. Yeah, so there's just a lot of fun stuff to do and connect to these toys, and that really just helps players really just kind of customize their character to represent how they want to play the game.
Yeah, that's really nice. So we've got a clear idea. I've got the toy now. Got that in my mind. But the game is an app rather than a console game, so I think that's interesting in itself. But it's free to play. So could you talk a bit about what you get if you don't buy the toys? Is there a big drive to have to buy toys? How are you making money?
Well, we really hope people do end up buying toys, but because we think it's a lot of fun and it certainly adds to the experience. But at the core of the experience is a free-to-play game, which means you can just download the app and play everything in the game. There's no content that's locked away via having to have the toy. It's not like we are locking away certain levels or stages or even episodes by having to purchase something.
And the characters too, they're unlocked today?
So we have what we would consider the data versions or the software versions of everything. So the toy guys, they have a software version of them inside the game. They're not identical. They're a little bit like a quote-unquote alpha version of them. They look a little different. They don't have all the progression opportunities that the toy does. So as an example, like let's say you have this cool sword that you can get in the game. The toy version may have 3 options for progression. One may be down, say, the ice path, one may be down the fire path, and one may be down the lightning path. The software version of that may only have 2 of those paths, so like just the fire and just the ice. So it may be missing the lightning path, but in terms of its functionality and what you can do with it, it still has a lot of the same abilities, and you can level it up and you can progress it and put all of the augmentations in it. And it's not locking you off from any content. It just is preventing you from utilizing its all of its potential options. Mm-hmm. So really for players, it's not that we're really trying to lock you out of anything. It's really just allowing players that have the toys to have more customization options.
Yeah, and so we've got some shots here of, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Scorpos, is that right?
Yes,
Scorpos, red character.
Yes.
And we've got Ixion.
Ixion, yes.
Oh, I got them right.
Yes,
so we can get a sense of how these toys look and how they're slotting together. And what you're talking about in terms of upgrading, that's quite interesting, I think. So it feels like the weapons themselves, there's this upgrade path, and there's an in-game currency. Is there to do that?
So the whole idea is that everything similar to something like if you have viewers that are similar or familiar with things like League of Legends, mm-hmm. where their model really isn't about locking away content or preventing players from actually being competitive without having to spend money. We have a very similar concept. We want to respect the players and really give them a world and characters that they can really enjoy and fall in love without having to spend any money. That's really core to our free-to-play model. We're not trying to wring money out at every possible option or prevent paywalls or lock away any type of content for the paying users only. So yeah, things like progression is really important for us. We want players to invest their time and have that represented in their customizations and really make that meaningful for players. So things like weapons have all of these level up and progression paths. Everything mm-hmm. is uniquely identified. So if you have so this software you can buy, say in-game through the in-game currency that you just play the game, you'll get this currency. You can purchase all these weapons and all of the characters just like the toys. And then progress them up, level them up, and what's really cool about that is, you have potentially multiple weapons of the same type, right? So like 2 swords that are the same. They look the same, they function similarly, but the reason why you'd actually purchase buy them in the game, buy multiples of them, is actually because you could have these progression paths like fire and ice, or more damage, high reload time, or spread damage, that sort of stuff.
So it's like sort of building your deck.
That is exactly right. I'm really influenced by things like Magic the Gathering, and I know it's like putting all of these different influences together in one title, but really when I think about the characters, they're either like a role-playing character class or like a Magic the Gathering deck theme. Right, so Scorpos, you look at him and you think, oh, he's got a lot of armor, he's got a lot of health, he's probably slow, but he can carry a lot of stuff, and so weight's a really big important factor in the game. So some weapons are really heavy, they do a lot of damage. Other weapons are lighter, they may shoot quicker or have faster reload times, and so you're constantly weighing how you want to build up a character, and you have these limiting factors, and that has to do with all has to do with character theme. So yeah, if you want the high health tank type of character, you're going to go with Scorpos and outfit him with really heavy stuff.
His massive machine gun we can see here. It looks really beefy.
Right. Quite heavy. And Ixion is kind of the the black to his white, or the yin to his yang. He's much faster. He doesn't have quite as much health or armor, but his speed allows him to have a lot of different types of gameplay options. But it also does limit him in terms of what he can carry. And so if you try to put all the heavy stuff on Ixion, he actually slows down quite a bit in terms of the gameplay, and he can't dash quite as quickly. So then you're actually really going against his theme, but you can still make him powerful that way. So yeah, it's really about, I like to play a certain way and kind of outfitting your character in that way. Mm-hmm. That's also part of why all of the customizations are really just an important thing for both the game and the toys.
Sounds great. So just finishing off on the toys before maybe we talk a bit more about the sort of the on-screen action. So as I understand it, that you can make purchases in the app via sort of Amazon Marketplace, and there'll be a starter pack of sorts, will there?
Yes. We will have more details on all the retail packs that we'll offer, but we will definitely have starter packs for each character. And they'll come with one character and one weapon. And very shortly, if not right now, you can actually pre-order that on Amazon, and they'll be ready to go when the game launches. And then we'll have individual weapons for sale as well, and we're still looking at other things like bundling weapons together, bundling all the characters together, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have a lot of different options for players if they want to actually buy the toys.
Yeah. So moving over now to what's on the screen side of this, the interactive element. So, well, first off, I mean, this before I actually heard much about it, I thought there was a look of Elite Beat agents to it, and then I read some of the press around it, and I was like, oh, well, that's why, because there's the Elite Beat agents talent, but you've got that sort of the robot quirkiness from there, but you've also got a whole host of other developmental experience coming in on the team. Do you want to maybe headline some of that? And I'd like to hear more about what the actual app experience is.
Sure. So we have quite an interesting team built around this product, and it's because we're not just trying to make a single product. We actually have multiple products in development, and we're actually building a whole platform around this. And so because of the platform nature of this new kind of games to life category that we're building out, we really wanted to have a truly diverse group of people thinking about what type of experiences we can and possibly will make in the future. So yeah, everything from rhythm games and music games and dancing games to shooters and RPGs and MMOs and MOBAs. I mean, we kind of run the whole gamut between both console and mobile. And between all of us, I think the average time in the industry is around 17 or 20 years between all the leads. So we really can't come together and try to come up with all these different concepts that span a lot of really things that we just love to play and consume. So yeah, you'll see a lot of different influences in this, and you called out Elite Beat agents in terms of some of the styling, and I think that's actually kind of spot on. We have this sensibility that they are appealing to a lot of people. Hopefully, a lot of different ages will like the character designs and the themes and feel of the world, and that's kind of representative of all the different backgrounds we have, right? So everything from, like you mentioned, Elite Beat agents, which is quirky, fun, humorous, and aggressive at times as well. And that is also representative of all of the other products we've worked on. Everything from League of Legends and Gears of War to Halo and all those more core games. So yeah, it really does, both from an art style as well as an interactivity, kind of pull from all of those different influences.
Oh, so would you call it a shooter? Is there a genre that it sits in?
Yeah, I mean, I in my head, I know this is super generic, but it's I think of it an action combat game, but really, I think ultimately it's going to be more or considered more of a shooter. You have free movement in the game. You can move your character around the environment in any direction. There's dashing. There's other movement options as well. And then there's no free aiming. That is the one key thing. So it is not that you'll ever try to aim at your target. We have an automatic lock-on targeting system, which means that it's pretty approachable for most gamers. You don't have to think about or really have to have a lot of skill in the aiming portion of the game. The skill is all about timing your attacks and placement of your character. There's a lot of depth in how we're doing the reload mechanics and managing that whole time-based stuff of your attacks and your special attack for each character is really where the game shines, and that's kind of similar to more of the MMO style of gameplay than it is just a core shooter. But yeah, it's a nice blend of kind of standard MMO gameplay and shooters.
And so I understand it's 6 players locally multiplayer, but is there an online multiplayer as well? And also, can you play it on your own?
Yeah, it's not local. It's actually everything's over the internet.
Okay. So you could play if you're in the same place, but it would be going off and back by the internet.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's all over the internet. I saw a number of things yesterday incorrectly saying that it's a local multiplayer game. That is not the case. It's actually an internet-based multiplayer experience. So we do a lot of Seattle and Tokyo multiplayer all the time, 3 versus 3, 1v. It's a whole lot of fun, and so yeah, you and your friends can play wherever you are in the world, and you'll have fun.
So, but you do need to be online to play it. If you're offline, it's an online experience.
Yeah, we're still looking at what the offline experience really is going to be like, because we don't want to cut people off from the experience just because they can't connect to the internet for whatever reason. But we do have some security things around, especially around how the toys work, that is requiring the internet. All the toys are bound to you as a user if you purchase them, and that's really important for us. So, you know, if someone tries to take your toy, they can't use it in the game unless you actually give them permission to. So things like that are really important to us, and that of course requires the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting that you've chosen a tablet hardware rather than console, because a lot of the rhetoric around the sort of the announcement was around it sort of, you know, it's an older audience than Skylanders, and and my assumption would be that those older people are more wedded to a console experience,
and that may be true depending on the age range. I think what we've seen is that a lot of kids these days, they've grown up without consoles. They've actually are growing up in a world where their entire digital experience is really either on the PC or on a tablet or phone, and they're just growing up with this as the de facto way that they're consuming video games, and so now we have 5 years ago or so, when the whole toys to life category really came to age. Now those players are kind of in the 15-year-old range, right? They're 15 or 17, and they grew up with that kind of experience, and they're looking for something that is more aged up than Skylanders.
There's only so many Skylanders you can buy, really.
Before
you're
right.
like, what's next?
That's right, and you know, there's a lot of reasons why no one's really kind of going after this market. There's this term in the toy industry. It's called age compression. And it's their idea of when, well, basically what's happened over the past decade or so is that kids have stopped playing with toys at a younger and younger age, and that's the age compression phenomenon. And it's basically just because mobile devices and PCs and console games, the video games of the world, are just much more entertaining than just what the toy manufacturers have to offer at an older age range. And so, you know, kids are just graduating towards video games quicker and quicker, younger and younger. But what we see at Jumo is that it's not like you ever lose the love for toys or lose the love for physical play, and it's just a matter of creating the right content for them. That's why we really hope that these toys, as well as the game, really kind of speak to that audience. And yeah, once again, to your point, there are a lot of these players that are on console right now, and we totally understand that, and we're looking at that. But we feel that the audience that is really growing up with these things, they're more on mobile today than not, and that's where those experiences really are just headed, and that's where we're focused.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's disrupting that market a bit, and that reminds me about the toy side. And we spoke a little bit before about your fast toy side of this, which enables you to iterate the physical product in a new way as well. So it feels like you're disrupting on both fronts. So maybe we should just talk a little bit about that fast toy idea.
Sure. So fast toys was inspired by fast fashion. Companies like Uniqlo and H&M have commoditized high fashion. They've figured out a way to take things from the runway and speed up everything from the design and manufacturing to the distribution and of course then consumption of these clothing lines. And so you see something like an H&M having new clothing every week. So every time you go in the store, potentially you're seeing new stuff. And that's kind of what we were hoping to do with these toys, is that, growing up, I would go to something like Toys R Us. I would beg my parents to take me every day. And, you'd see the same things over and over and over again. But, you just loved toys so much that you just kept them going. And hoping that they would buy something for you. But now we've really taken that that desire to have all of this new stuff all the time, and really try to figure out a way that we could do that. And we sped up the whole design process and the manufacturing process and the distribution process. And there are all these little places where we sped things up, and there's still a whole lot of place that there's a whole lot of time we can still save as we go along and develop this ecosystem around fast toys. But we've dramatically shortened that time frame down, and so we can create toys, iterate on them, design them, manufacture them, get them into consumers' hands much quicker than the traditional toy industry, and that's key for us because we're on mobile devices. Like we're a mobile native experience, and in the free-to-play market, there are these kind of weekly content updates very often in these games. And so if you have these weekly updates where it's almost like an episode, right? So Saturday morning cartoon episode. For us, if we don't have new toys to go along with that, we would basically only have toys coming out every 6 months, 9 months, a year or so. And you would have all of this continued new episodes and new content being released all the time, and nothing would be new in the game in terms of the toy experience. And we thought that was a big miss. So trying to figure out the fast toys portion of it to match up with the kind of weekly episodic Saturday morning cartoon / free-to-play mobile experience was really something that was important. And I think we did it. We really are now being able to ship and release new weapons every 2 weeks, and along with characters, very, very quickly.
2 weeks is crazy. When the normal sort of toys to life cycle is like it takes companies 2 years really to really have multiple teams. So that's amazing. 2 weeks.
Yeah, we've been at this for over 3 years now. 2 years as a formal company, but it's really, this was the core product concept problem that we had to solve, and yeah, it's taken us that long to kind of get here. But I think the timing and the tech, especially. Yeah, just as a closing sentiment, I think there's just a lot of details on how this was made and the concept behind it and all the crazy technology that we've used to make it happen. But ultimately, there are these really cool action figures, and they connect seamlessly to your mobile device and game, and it just works. Like it just works. You put a weapon on, and it's in the game instantaneously, and that's all the consumer needs to know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you need to know. It's fun, it works.
It's just simple.
So.
I want a button that can tell my kids it's tea time, so
Yes.
the toy can tell them, come down for tea. Great, that's really good to hear all the news about Infinite Arms. We shall digest that, and but look forward to the game coming out in beta soon. So thanks for your time, Chris.
Okay, thanks a lot, Andy. Hopefully we'll talk soon, and we'll have a lot more to reveal around what we're doing on Infinite Arms.